morning. Nice to see you, Trae.
Yeah, great to see you again. There's so much to talk about because you now have been in office. You served one term already. Tell us about some of the things that you've really learned that made you say, I got to continue in this route and make sure I put my name in the hat again.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I love the new set here. I am really excited about the opportunity to keep serving the people of District 2. You know, I came into office really feeling like the South End, communities of color needed more representation and really wanting to bring the voices who have typically been left out of decision-making in the city, bring those voices into the halls of power. So I'm excited about the opportunity to keep doing that. I'm really proud of some of the things that we've been able to do. I've really spent the last 3 years trying to elevate the discussion about community-led development, about community control of capital. You know, a lot of the work that I've been doing is around trying to change the systems in the city so that we are facilitating community wealth development, particularly for Black and brown neighborhoods, because we all know that for generations, Black and brown folks have been pushed out and left out of these decision-making tables and have been stripped of wealth. So that's the work that I really feel called to do at the City Council, is to make sure that we are dismantling what's not working and really trying to build up the opportunity for people to create wealth. So those are kind of the big things that I'm working on. It all relates to housing, it relates to land use, it relates to how we finance things. But I'm excited about continuing to do that work with our city departments and with our community. As you know, there's a lot of folks doing this work already. Africatown Community Land Trust. You know, I was in a meeting last week with Caleb Jackson, who's doing Pride Land Partnership, a fund to help folks who might be at risk of losing their home figure out how to hold on to it and hold on to that asset, how to build wealth for their family so they can pass it on to the next generation. And I'm excited for the opportunity to keep doing that and to work in partnership with community members.
Well, you know, I think it's so important when we talk about exposure and being engaged, right? When you have community groups who stay engaged in the work and who are really learning along the way, I think there's a lot of learning that's been going on the last few years with regard to keeping your homes, community-led development initiatives, community members being engaged in activities that I think historically they didn't feel like there was a place for their voice to be heard. So first off, it means that you have to have some intentionality to open up that door for their voices to be heard. And then when we talk about resources, I mean, we're seeing a flood of resources come in. I think there's a lot of things around COVID relief and all of that, but they need to really hit families so that they feel an elevated, you know, rise in their material conditions. And I think that that's really key. What are some of the things that you're really standing firm on as you continue on as, you know, being somebody who's representing such a diverse district?
Sure. Well, I sit on the Land Use Committee. We will be talking about the comprehensive plan in the next year. I think one of the ways that will be very important for us to start making these shifts is to allow for the kind of neighborhood development that really brings resources, brings small business opportunities to each of our neighborhoods. So right now, the way we develop is to really isolate wealthier homeowners in some neighborhoods and sort of push all the apartments into other areas. So that's the conversation that we're going to be having in the next year, is how do we shift that so that people have access to goods and services in their neighborhood and also have the opportunity for home ownership. So as you know, the 2021, I think we had a report done on the racial wealth gap in the city of Seattle. And that showed that 33% of Black homeowners, the rate of home ownership among Black families was only 27%. 33% of Black families reported zero net wealth. And so these are long changes that we have, right? We have to play the long game, but there's a lot of work to do. And I think for me, I've been working, for example, with the Department of Neighborhoods to try to identify what is the city doing that can facilitate supporting access to resources, access to capital, access to land ownership, and what are we doing that's getting in the way? We're still doing that work. We don't have all the answers yet, but that community wealth building strategy is my work for the next few years. My team has been studying what they're doing in Richmond, Virginia. They're doing similar work in Chicago. They're doing similar work in Oakland. And so we're in touch with all of these communities to understand what their municipalities are doing and what we sort of need to get out of the way and let community do. So those are the kinds of things that I'm excited to keep working on.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is great. You're talking about, I just got connected with Caleb when you said that earlier. In terms of all of the different ways that people are doing things, I've been hearing some great work being done around this kind of 15-minute neighborhood, right? These 15-minute neighborhoods where anything is within walking distance of 15 minutes from your house.
Right.
And it really will start to, I think, elevate the ways that people engage in their communities. Because what we are seeing right now is that in terms of folks being able to access certain resources, it means they have to leave their community, right? And so I love that you're on that, and that thinking about it from a land use development perspective, that's going to be really key and critical. But these are also topics that oftentimes, like, community members are like, what are you talking about, right? And so how do you find that engaging community in some of these discussions has maybe been beneficial to maybe your personal growth and learning, but also to the community that you serve?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So I've been trying to educate and inform the community for about a year now that this process is coming up. So in my office, in my council office, we've started a series of community discussions that we're calling Seattle Within Reach. And the point really is to try to help people understand, what is the comprehensive plan? Why should I pay attention to this? How does it affect my day-to-day life? And we've kind of broken it down by topic. In the plan itself, it's called elements. But so we invite people to come. We have a conversation about transportation, about housing, about small business, about the environment. There's a climate justice element to all of this, because as somebody representing communities of color, we have greater health disparities, asthma, all those things. And so through that, that is one way that we've been trying to help people understand what are the different parts of this planning document and how does it affect me. It's really important. So I'm trained as a neighborhood planner, so this is important to me because the whole point of neighborhood planning is to bring community to the table, to help them understand that they have a role to play in how their neighborhood changes and grows. This should not be a process where the city makes a decision and imposes it. It's absolutely about community engagement and bringing people to listen, to share their priorities, to share the things that are bothering them about how their neighborhood works. And what we've learned is that people want to be able to age in place. Elders want to be able to cross the street to go to the grocery store, to go to the pharmacy, to go to the credit union, to go see a healthcare provider without having to get in their car. Kids want to be able to go to school and cross the street and go see their friends. And so there is a lot to understand about how all these pieces intersect. And we all need to be able to be in a neighborhood that we can navigate safely, that we can get the things that we need without having to go to a different neighborhood to get them. You know, one of the things I see is there are some neighborhoods, mostly in the North End, that are very well resourced. You can walk around and get everything you need, and that's a policy decision that some communities have that and others don't. And so it's really incumbent upon us as City Council to make sure that we're making a shift so that every neighborhood has access to the things that they need to thrive.
Yeah, this is key. When you think about, how accessible you've been as a council member, what is something you really want to speak to in that regard? Because community members and those who you represent need to have access to you in order for their voices to be heard on a number of issues.
Yep.
How do you approach that level of accessibility?
So we have, thank you for that question. I will say, first off, my first 3 years in office, it was really hard. well, maybe the first 2 years, right? So I was in office for 53 days, I think, before we all got sent home. So it was hard the first couple years, trying to do everything from my kitchen table and trying to keep my family safe, trying to keep community members safe. Now we've shifted. We have in-district office hours. So we set aside a whole day every 2 weeks to meet people at coffee shops. We're trying to rotate through the district. So we were at Cafe Red last week. Before that, we were at the Rainier Beach Community Center. And that's been great because it does allow people to come in and see us. We also are doing the Seattle Within Reach so that people can communicate with us about particular topics. And then my district director, Evelyn Chow, is always available. We are going out much more to community meetings to show, rather than asking people to come to us, going to where people are already gathering. So we've been to the Beacon Hill Community Council. There was a meeting last night about the Duwamish and some of the environmental health issues happening down at CMAR. That was in South Park, which is not my district, but it was important to be there to hear what neighbors have to say about the health impacts of, in this case, the King County Airport down there.
Well, that's critical. Lastly, of course, I got to give you time to tell viewers why vote for you. Why Councilmember Morales, Tammy Morales, why do you deserve the seat again?
Well, thank you for that opportunity. One of the things I'm most proud of is that, District 2 is comprised of neighborhoods that have historically been underinvested in for generations. And one of the things I'm most proud of is that we've been able to bring significant investment in the last couple of years, close to $200 million for sidewalks and parks and cultural spaces and park improvements and youth programming. It's really important to me, kind of the values that I bring to this office are to repair the harm that's been done to communities of color and to really try to democratize access to power and access to resources. And so everything we do in the office is about that, and that's the work that, there's still a lot of work to do, don't get me wrong. It took us generations to get here, but I'm really proud of what we've been able to do to deliver for folks in the South End, and I would be honored to have the opportunity to keep doing that.
Well, there you go. Look right there. Let folks know how they connect with you in the campaign and all the work that you're bringing to the community.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me, Trae. I am running for re-election. You can learn more about our campaign and how you can get involved by going to votefortammy.com, and we'll get in touch with you about volunteering, democracy vouchers, endorsement, anything you want to know about how to be involved in our campaign, and we look forward to seeing you.
Right on. Thank you so much, Councilmember Morales.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.